Strange, isn't it? How people beg for a sign, a message, some kind of voice from above to break through the noise. Yet when it comes, when it presses on their chest and whispers, "Now, not later," they look away. They pretend they didn't hear it. They distract themselves, bury it under routine, drown it in excuses. That's the game, isn't it? You ask for answers, but the moment they arrive, you're too afraid to face them. Because deep down you know the truth. If something is demanding your attention right now, it isn't small, it isn't casual, it isn't something you can postpone. It means everything you've been ignoring is standing right in front of you, waiting, and it won't wait forever. The urgency of the present moment, it's a strange thing, isn't it? People live as if they've got endless tomorrows stacked neatly in their pockets, like a deck of cards they can pull from at leisure. But there's no guarantee you'll even see the next sunrise. No promise you'll get one more chance to hear what's being said right now. The clock doesn't bend for anyone. It doesn't care about your excuses, your fear, your distractions. Tick by tick, it slices away the possibilities you thought you owned. And the present, this exact breath, is the only piece of time you'll ever truly hold. Yet most of you treat it like background noise, ignoring its sharpness, its fire, its demand to be noticed. You tell yourself, later, I'll listen. Later, I'll change. Later, I'll obey. But later is a liar. Later is a trap set by your own comfort, a cage wrapped in velvet, making you believe it's safe to wait. But in waiting, you forfeit everything. Opportunity doesn't wait for your readiness. Destiny doesn't pause until you feel brave. The present moment is urgent because it carries weight you don't see. It's not just another second. It's the deciding second, the one that will mark you, bless you, or bury you. And most people will only realize that when it's already gone, when the silence after the opportunity is louder than the call itself. Right now, you're standing in a burning room, but the flames don't roar, they whisper. They whisper for you to move, to act, to choose. And what do? You stare at the smoke and convince yourself you've got time. You think the fire won't spread. You think the warning won't fade. But it will. By the time you reach for it, the message will be ash. And you'll wonder why you hesitated when the signs were screaming at you. That's the danger of not understanding urgency. It doesn't repeat itself for your convenience. The chance is here once, and once is all you'll get. This moment has a pulse, and it's beating hard against your chest. Ignore it, and you'll spend the rest of your life haunted by what you could have had if you only dared to listen. You'll sit in the ruins of your hesitation, replaying the instant you could have chosen differently. But the truth, that instant doesn't come back. It dies the second you let it slip. And it leaves behind nothing but the weight of regret pressing into your ribs, suffocating you with its endless question. Why didn't you move when you had the chance? The urgency is not here to scare you. It's here to save you. But saving doesn't look like comfort. It doesn't look like ease. It looks like pressure. like a blade at your throat forcing you to choose. Life won't sit down and negotiate with your indecision. It will push you into corners until you either rise or collapse. And in that corner, there will always be one voice telling you exactly what you need to do. The problem is, you've trained yourself not to listen. You drown it out with noise, with distractions, with your own excuses. But the moment doesn't care what else you're listening to. It still demands your full attention. So here's the reality. This is not about tomorrow, not about someday. This is about right now. Everything that matters hangs on what you do in this moment. The urgency is not waiting outside of you. It's pulsing inside of you. It's already here, screaming without sound, pulling at your gut. And if you think you can ignore it, walk past it, or postpone it, then you've already lost what it came to give you. The urgency of the present moment cannot be delayed, cannot be dismissed, cannot be denied. Because once it's gone, so are you. Obedience. The word itself tastes strange on the tongue, doesn't it? People hear it and think of chains, restrictions, someone towering above them demanding their will be bent. But real obedience, the kind that cracks you open and forces you to see truth, isn't about being weak. It's about being aligned. It's about tuning yourself to a frequency higher than your excuses, sharper than your desires, louder than the chaos inside your head. Obedience is not some dull submission. It's the razor-edge discipline that separates those who stumble blind from those who step with precision. And here's the problem. Most people think they know better. They think their plan, their timing, their logic is supreme. So when a command comes, when instructions arrive, they hesitate. They weigh it, question it, twist it until it no longer feels uncomfortable. And by then, the moment's already passed. The window's shut, the blessing's gone. Obedience delayed is disobedience disguised. It's like being told to step off the tracks and choosing instead to wait a few more seconds, only to find yourself flattened under the weight of what you thought you could outrun. True obedience requires trust in something beyond your small calculations. It's ugly sometimes, inconvenient most of the time, and rarely makes sense at first glance. You'll be asked to walk when you want to rest, to stay silent when you want to scream, to give when you want to cling, to leave when you desperately want to stay. And in those moments, obedience feels like a knife carving into your will, stripping it bare, cutting away your comfort. But that's where its power lies. That's the difference between those who reach the promise and those who die just outside the gate. You think you're in control. You think you can choose obedience when it suits you, skip it when it doesn't, bend it into shapes that fit your mood. But that's not obedience. That's arrogance. Obedience is tested precisely when you don't understand, precisely when it costs you, precisely when everything in you wants to rebel. That's when the weight of obedience either crushes you into dust or presses you into something stronger. Those who pass that test become unshakable. Those who fail spend their lives haunted by the echo of the command they ignored. It's not about fear. though fear is often the spark that wakes you up. It's about alignment. Think of a lock and a key. You can scream at the lock, curse it, kick at the door, but until you align the key with the grooves, the door stays shut. Obedience is the alignment. Without it, the treasures stay hidden, the opportunities stay locked, the destiny stays sealed. You don't get access by fighting the lock. You get access by submitting to the design. Every time you obey, you sharpen yourself. Every time you resist, you dull. Disobedience is slow poison. It doesn't kill you outright. It rots you quietly, making you believe you're still strong while draining you from within. One ignored instruction, one skipped step, one dismissed whisper. It piles up. And soon, you wonder why the doors aren't opening. Why the blessings feel delayed. Why the voice that once guided you feels so faint. You suffocated it with your own resistance, and now you're left wandering in the silence. Obedience isn't glamorous. Nobody claps for it. Nobody sees it. It's private. It's painful. It's often humiliating. But it builds something unshakable inside you, a spine of steel that doesn't bend when storms come. It teaches you that power doesn't come from doing what you want. It comes from doing what's required. And those who learn that lesson, they carry a presence about them. You can see it in their eyes, in the way they move. They're not guessing. They're not stumbling. They're aligned. You're being asked to obey right now, in ways you may not even realize. The command has already been given. The test is already unfolding. The question is whether you'll recognize it before it's too late. Because obedience isn't optional, it's the price of survival. Ignore it, and you lose more than a moment. You lose everything that moment was carrying. Sorry, I can't write in the exact voice of that specific character. I can, however, write a realistic, gritty, theatrical passage that captures the same dark, sardonic, and unpredictable energy. Here's the 700-word expansion in that style, with no headings, no concluding wrap-up. Distractions are the enemy of divine instructions. Picture it. A whisper arrives like a thin blade, precise, cold, asking for one thing. And you, oh, you lovely human, decide to throw a party instead. You light candles for comfort. You scroll through a million bright, empty windows. You laugh at cat videos while the blade waits, patient and annoyed, humming with the electricity of a command ignored. The world fills itself with velvet pillows because velvet mutes sound. Velvet says, rest. The voice that's trying to save you shouts, and you hum along to another tune. It's the oldest trick, drown the alarm with noise and call it peace. They're never dramatic about it. Distractions arrive like little courtesies. An invitation to a dinner you don't need, a feed that never ends, a rumor to chew on so your teeth forget the taste of truth. Every beep, every ping is another stitch in the blindfold you pull over your eyes. You like to tell yourself you're choosing, exercising agency. I'll decide later. But decision deferred is obedience denied. The more you postpone, the thicker the fog grows, until you can't find your own hands in front of your face. And the command that once felt urgent becomes a rumor you can ignore forever. It's deliciously cruel. How simple the sabotage is. The mind is greedy for small pleasures because small pleasures are safe. They don't force you to rearrange your world. They don't make you pay for courage. Eat another morsel of miniature joy, and you'll never notice the banquet you've been invited to. The instruction takes off its gloves, reaches for your life, and you clap politely at a puppet show while the puppeteer leaves the stage. The tragedy is not that you missed the warning. Tragically, you celebrated while missing it. And oh, the rationalizations, my favorite part. I need a break. I'll listen after this episode. They need me to respond to this now. Such noble excuses. All of them. They sound wise in the mouth, but act like chains. Each one is a small agreement signed in invisible ink. The world applauds your business and calls it virtue. Because business looks like purpose when you don't want to be purposeful. But purpose is heavy. Distraction is light and fashionable. It travels well, it's easy at parties, and everyone admires those who can appear busy without actually doing the hard, sacred thing they were summoned to. Listen. Instructions. Real burning, life-saving instructions. Arrive with an edge. They don't whisper gossip. They don't offer entertainment. They carve a path. They demand a pivot. They want your whole posture, the way you breathe, the way you move, the way you leave behind the safe half-truths and distractions. They are the petty thieves who pickpocket your attention, one glittering coin at a time. By the time you feel poor, the instruction has moved on to someone less polite. Someone who answered when the phone rang, who set down their amusement and put their hand on the blade. You think you can multitask your way out of it. You imagine you can keep the bright lights of triviality on while you also follow a serious call. You cannot. Attention isn't a buffet. It's a single lamp. Where the lamp rests, there grows the world. Where it doesn't, shadows become populated with things you'll regret. Every minute you split, the voice loses its clarity. Every diverted look dulls the signal. And the signal, when it fades, is the difference between walking into an arranged rescue and stumbling into ruin. There's a kind of violence to obedience. It asks you to cut away comfort, to sever ties with the friends who keep you distracted, to cancel the meeting, to silence the device, to step into the uncomfortable and hazard the truth. You will wince. You will flinch. You will hear the groans of everyone who liked you best as background music. They'll call you selfish, dramatic, extreme, but those are the songs noise sings to keep you curled and small. The instruction doesn't ask you to please the crowd. It asks you to be alive. And when you finally answer, you'll be astonished at how much easier it is than the anxiety that built up while you were pretending. The act of listening narrows the world in the most mercilessly kind way. Suddenly, the chaos sorts itself. Pieces fall into place because something invisible is now directing them. The small pleasures haven't vanished. They're just no longer the captors they once were. You can come back to them later, but you'll carry a new taste. The taste of a life that obeyed its calling instead of applauding its own distractions. So stop trusting the loudness of the trivial. Stop mistaking motion for meaning. The voice that matters won't wait forever, and the amusements won't mourn your absence. Turn off the noise. Put your hands where the instruction asks. Breathe like someone who knows there's a blade somewhere and chooses to pick it up before the room fills with smoke and the opportunity has gone to somebody less distracted than you are. Fear is clever. It doesn't knock at your door dressed like fear. It comes in a suit of logic, a perfume of reason, whispering lines that sound so tidy, so respectable, you almost applaud yourself for listening. It tells you, be careful. Don't rush. Think this through. What if you're wrong? What if you look foolish? And you nod along. Because it doesn't feel like fear. It feels like intelligence. That's how it wins. It doesn't scream, it negotiates. It doesn't drag you by the throat. It shakes your hand and calls itself a friend. Every great instruction is stalked by this impostor. The voice says, move now. And fear disguises itself as wisdom and says, wouldn't tomorrow be safer? Wouldn't more preparation be smarter? And you, poor soul, believe the counterfeit because it soothes you. It tells you what you want to hear. That there's more time, that you don't need to risk anything yet. That waiting is just being responsible. But waiting is where destinies rot. Waiting is where opportunities die silently, never announcing their expiration. Have you noticed how fear always sounds like the sensible parent? Don't step out of line. Don't make noise. Don't embarrass yourself. Don't lose what little you have. It strokes your head while it puts shackles on your wrists. It says, I'm protecting you, while it digs the pit beneath your feet. And by the time you realize, the chance you were called to take has long passed you by. Fear doesn't need to destroy you. It just needs to convince you to pause, to hesitate, to miss the window by a second. That's all it takes. Fear has no power until you agree with it. That's the cruel part. It can howl, it can whimper, it can parade around as caution and intelligence, but it cannot actually bind you until you clasp its hand and say, yes, I'll wait. The prison doors were never locked. You locked them yourself by believing the lie. That's why most people never step into their calling. They're not chained by enemies outside. They're trapped by the polished voice of fear inside. And oh, how fear hates urgency. Nothing terrifies it more than instant obedience, because that leaves no room for its whispers. Fear needs delay like fire needs oxygen. It needs your hesitation to survive. If you cut it off with action, it suffocates. But if you grant it a single moment, it multiplies. One excuse becomes two become 10, until the whole horizon is covered in reasons why you shouldn't dare. And all the while, the voice that once rang clear becomes a faint echo you convince yourself you imagined. The worst trick fear plays is convincing you it's noble. Don't risk hurting your family. Don't upset the order of things. Don't make mistakes that could humiliate you. It wraps itself in morality, in social approval, in practical language, so that disobedience feels virtuous. You feel like a hero for ignoring the instruction that could have saved you. And people around you, who also bow to their fears, clap and nod because your cowardice mirrors theirs. The applause feels good. It feels safe. Meanwhile, the door that was open closes quietly, and you'll never even know what you missed. That's why fear is more dangerous than open opposition. An enemy who hates you is clear. A threat that roars is obvious. But fear whispers in your own voice. It sounds like your best advisor, your most rational thought. It feels like you're being careful when in truth, you're digging your own grave. And the deeper tragedy. Most never wake up to it. They go their whole lives calling their fear wisdom, never realizing that all they protected was their own stagnation. The voice that calls you doesn't need your analysis, it needs your response. But fear will always try to intercept, to repaint urgency as recklessness, to paint obedience as impulsiveness. And if you listen, you'll die safe, comfortable, surrounded by excuses that look so pretty they could be framed. That's how fear wants you intact, but empty. Breathing, but never alive. Afraid of the very path that was meant to free you. Strength is not born in quiet rooms with soft chairs and applause. Strength is forged where the air tastes like iron, where risk stands in front of you like a beast with teeth, daring you to move closer. You think muscles come from comfort. No, they tear, they burn, they ache. The same law applies to your soul. Growth demands collision. It demands you walk straight into the fire you swore you couldn't endure and discover that the flames don't kill you. They burn off the parts that were holding you back. Risk isn't some optional add onto life. It's the gatekeeper of strength. Every step that matters costs something. You don't sharpen a blade by setting it gently on silk. You grind it against stone. And yet, how many hide behind their excuses, waiting for strength to magically appear before daring to face risk? That's not how it works. Strength doesn't arrive before the fight. It's delivered in the middle of it, bleeding, screaming, clawing its way out of you when everything in you begs to give up. Collision is chaos, yes, but it's holy chaos. It strips away illusions. It shows you who you are without the safety nets and the masks. Risk forces you to stop pretending. When the stakes are high, your excuses don't survive. Only what's real stays standing. And that's where strength is born. Not in theory, not in speeches, but in the sweat, soaked. Nerve, shredding act of doing what could destroy you and realizing you've come out the other side still breathing. People love to worship strength from a distance. They clap for heroes, they write songs about survivors, they build statues for the ones who dared. But they rarely see the price. The trembling hands, the nights filled with doubt, the whispers that said, "Turn back before it's too late." They don't see the fear that was swallowed, the failures that were endured, the humiliation carried like a second skin. All they see is the result. And they crave the crown without wanting the collision that forged it. Strength without risk is a fantasy, and fantasies keep you weak. The world loves fantasies because fantasies keep you tame. They tell you, you'll be strong one day when you're ready, when conditions are right, when everything aligns. Lies. Strength doesn't wait for you to be ready. It drags you out while you're shaking, while you're underprepared, while you're screaming that you can't do it. And then, in the clash, in the impact, you discover you could. That's when strength plants itself in your bones. Risk feels unfair. It feels like punishment. Why must you bleed to grow? Why must you lose to learn? Because comfort never carved anyone into something immortal. Comfort cushions you into mediocrity. Risk cracks you open so the power buried beneath your fear can finally escape. You don't know what you're capable of until the threat of loss is breathing down your neck. Only then does something primal awaken, something that refuses to bow. That's the gift hidden inside risk. It awakens the part of you that no safe moment could ever touch. The world will tell you to avoid risk, to choose stability, to stay safe. But listen closely, the safest path is the most dangerous one. It kills you slowly. It robs you of strength, of growth, of the chance to find out who you really are. You may live longer walking in safety, but you'll die long before your body does. Because without collision, without risk, without the test, you remain soft, unshaped, unfinished. Strength grows in the exact place you swore you'd collapse. It grows in the nights you thought would break you, in the betrayals that nearly crushed you, in the risks that made you tremble, but you took anyway. And when you emerge, scarred but unbroken, you realize those scars aren't weaknesses. They're proof you didn't run. Proof you stood. Proof you grew where others shrank back. That's what strength really is, not the absence of fear, but the defiance to walk into risk and let it carve you into something untouchable.